Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be measuring out, first of all, 40 milliliters of 0.5 molar copper 2 nitrate. And to do that, I'm going to use two different pipettes so you guys kind of get an example of both of them. The first is something called a volumetric pipette. A volumetric pipette here, it has one volume that it measures very accurately. So what I do is I will use this pipette filler to draw liquid up, and then I'm going to fill it up to the line and then transfer it over into my volumetric flask. I'm making 100 milliliters of my solution, by the way. So this is going to be my most accurate piece of glassware that I've got, besides my volumetric flask. There we go. So it's lined up with a little brown line on the pipette. I'll show you here. As I lose a little bit. I got a bubble. So the bubble's going to cause me problems and not give me an accurate volume. So I have to wait for that bubble to get out, which is annoying. There we go. Okay. I'm going to let that out into my volumetric flask. Now, if you remember, a volumetric flask measures one volume really accurately. So this is a 100 milliliter volumetric flask. When I'm making liquids like this from other liquids, I can just pipette the liquid into the volumetric flask, unless it's an acid. And then if it's an acid, I need to put a little bit of water in there so the acid doesn't splash back. At the bottom of my pipette here, you may notice a little bit of liquid left in here. The pipette is designed to do that, so we don't put that in, okay? So, the other thing I'm going to do, I need to get 40 milliliters total in here. So I'm going to roll my pipette filler down. Do not push these down. And then I'm going to use this type of pipette with the graduations on it. And I'm going to fill it up to the 10 milliliter line. And then repeat with the 5. I'm going to bring this as close as I can so I don't drip it. Okay. Same thing, roll it down. Fill it up, but this time I'm going to fill it up to the 5 milliliter line. Transfer it over, and then I should be good to go. Okay, so I've got that in, and now what I need to do is I need to get my solution dissolved. So I am going to put a little bit of water in here. Now this is already an aqueous solution, so it's not too big of a deal. You may notice a little bit of swirling, and that's because of the density. So I'm going to kind of swirl this a little bit to get it to mix. If this were a solid, you'd want to get this solid completely dissolved before you fill it up. I'm going to use my deionized water, and I'm going to fill it up to the line on the neck of the flask, making sure that I check my meniscus. And I've got my gloves on because I was using the nitric acid before for my dissolving. Okay, then I'm going to get down on the level of my flask. Meniscus lines up. I'm going to put a rubber stopper in, and then I'm going to flip it upside down. You may or may not be able to see some of the swirling, and that's the two different density layers. I'm going to flip it like this until I stop seeing the swirling. And that's how you make a solution.